Hi all, Rick here. The Borg Fusion Cube is pretty much exactly what it sounds like, when you take some cubes and fuse them together to make a truly world-ending threat. A quick observation can show you that it was built using 8 full-scale Borg cubes, grafted to one another, which then raises a follow-up. That combining 8 ships in such a fashion must be more effective than simply sending 8 individual ships for some tactical reason. Consolidating your threats into one target is generally a bad idea, no matter how defensible it is. So, for this reason, we can ascertain that the output and protection granted by the Fusion Cube is more than 8 times that of a cube. A single Borg cube is typically capable of assimilating a planet, with a cube often dispatched to an inhabited system to take it over. If this fails, then eventually the Borg may send a second at a later date. And everything the Borg Collective does is basically a measurement of cost versus gain, and sometimes they can take stock of a heavily defended star system and decide to not simply throw a cube at them, but 8. Such a large-scale investment is typically very rare from the Borg Collective. Even the heart of the United Federation of Planets only ever saw a single cube attack, albeit the second time was with a time travel shenanigan in mind. So, this is the reason given as the very rare sightings of the Borg Fusion Cube. The situation has to warrant it. The first encounter was in 2377, in the regular Badlands, when such a cube emerged from a transwarp aperture to engage a Federation fleet searching for Borg incursions, which gives us a good situational analysis of why the Fusion Cube was deployed. In this instance, the vessel was to act as the van of a larger fleet to take on an entire armada of enemy ships, before proceeding on, drawing the UFP into addressing the threat. It seems like this massive threat was there to inflict maximum damage and occupy the attention while defending further Borg operations. When it comes to the construction of the Borg Fusion, we have seen 2 methods. One is markedly more successful than the other. Generally, a dedicated ship facility is manufactured by the Borg, sort of a shipyard of their own, preferably part of a unicomplex. Among its other duties of structural overhauls, this station is capable of engineering the process to fuse 8 cubes together. Outside of this, in 2411, a situation was witnessed where 8 individual cubes merged into a fusion cube after receiving major damage. This was done without access to such a facility, but the resulting fusion cube was distinct from the one encountered in 2377. Whereas the one built at a hub was a single cohesive vessel with its own energy signatures, the fusion created on the fly retained 8 distinctive profiles, and each part could be disabled independently. This tells us that such integration outside of the dedicated facility was possible, yet the result was not as efficient at combining the systems and power of the constituent parts. And perhaps in time, if left to develop, the Fusion Cube may have fully integrated into its new role, eventually registering as a single ship. It's worth noting that the Borg in this situation were on the back foot when they pulled this out, and many cubes were already damaged. However, this vessel was only taken down by a species 8472 planet killer, with combined Federation Undine fleets only managing to disable it long enough for the blow to land. When constructed and functioning at peak efficiency, a fusion cube is more than capable of laying siege to an entire solar system, space stations, and fleets of comparable technological level to the United Federation of Planets. Its massive defences can weather pretty much every form of weapon that Starfleet could throw at it, with shielding and Borg adaptability drawn from 8 times as many sources as the conventional cube. Considering the systems of a single cube are not centralised, a typical tactic has been to strike at it and hope that it's forced to create a vulnerability from numerous bypasses and adaptations. This is how the one at the Battle of Sector 001 was brought down, with Picard's latent connection identifying a vulnerable spot created by the pressure of the fleet. It's not clear if such a tactic would work against a fusion cube, considering its scale grants it so many more redundancies. It has a crew of over 5 million drones, although not all of these are going to be active at a time, considering their sleeping minds make up the main computer of the ship. This, however, grants it ample drone power to deploy to other ships, planets and installations to enact assimilation through boarding action. With a single cube containing such numbers, we can assume it was capable of long-term sieges. The Borg Fusion, as most Borg ships, is technically capable of producing any weapon or device that the Collective has knowledge of, from phasers to polaron beams. However, they tend to stick to plasma-based weaponry, at least at the outset, and combined with its surgical kinetic cutting beams. Alongside torpedoes of varying yields and beam weapons, the Fusion Cube employs numerous technologies for draining shields. Their trademark tractor beam does this alongside holding the victim in place, while they can deploy tachyon technology to disrupt deflector shielding systems, and a device that Starfleet has yet to fully understand simply called the Shield Neutralizer. The device says, "Hey, you know that shield you have? No you don't." Great. The Fusion is transwarp capable, although its speeds do not eclipse that of the standard Borg Cube, which is already faster than an Intrepid-class vessel, so it seems perhaps it is the upper limit of what the Borg can achieve in travel. This vessel is completely overkill from the Borg Collective, which is saying something. And they know it, which is why it is seldom seen. It best acts as the vanguard of a fleet, or a ship that can enter into a system and then just sit there, being a mobile fortress from which drones can beam to other targets, while it churns through anything sent to intercept it on a large-scale level. Meanwhile, the Borg are then free to operate elsewhere, while the enemy has to deal with the Fusion Cube, and invest a ton of resources into simply slowing it down. The only real weakness of the vessel is the one shared by all Borg, that is, disruption to the hive mind. Perhaps in time, something could be devised to counter it, but in reality, the Starfleet is lucky that they took out the Borg Collective when they did, before the Borg got serious about focusing down the UFP. There's even a rumour of a tactical Fusion Cube, which fortunately has never been canonically encountered in the lore. And that is the Borg Fusion Cube. At least 8 times as powerful as a regular cube, which typically is enough to take out an unprepared fleet and assimilate a planet. This thing does the same, but you know, for taking on a smaller galactic power in their entirety. Thanks for watching this breakdown on the Borg Fusion Cube. I've been Rick, and until the next video, goodbye.